Welcome to this lecture on the fundamentals of biomolecules. Today, we are going to explore a fascinating and beautiful topic, the levels of protein organization. Proteins are the ultimate microscopic machines inside your body, responsible for almost everything that keeps you alive. But they do not start out as complex machines. They begin as simple, linear chains of building blocks. How does a simple string transform into a highly specific functional tool? That incredible journey of folding and structuring is exactly what we will uncover today. To understand how proteins are built, imagine a long piece of straight yarn. That is just a simple one-dimensional line. This represents the basic chain of amino acids. Now, imagine you coil that yarn up into a tight, bouncy spring. Next, you take that spring and crumple it into a very specific three-dimensional ball. Finally, you take 4 of those unique balls and glue them together to make a massive superball. This is exactly how proteins are built in your body. They start as a simple string of building blocks and fold into incredibly complex, beautiful, and functional three-dimensional machines. Now that we have a mental picture, let us look at the formal biology. Proteins are large, complex molecules made up of long chains of smaller units called amino acids. The phrase levels of protein organization refers to the 4 distinct stages of structural complexity that a protein undergoes to become fully functional. These levels are known as the primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary structures. Each level is stabilized by specific types of chemical bonds and interactions, ranging from strong covalent bonds to weaker intermolecular forces. Understanding these levels is crucial because a protein's specific three-dimensional shape dictates its exact biological function in the body. This brings us to a critical question. Why does this structural organization matter so much? In biology, there is a golden rule. Structure determines function. If a protein does not fold into its correct tertiary or quaternary structure, it simply cannot do its job. For example, the protein hemoglobin carries oxygen in your blood, and its ability to do so relies entirely on its precise 4-subunit quaternary structure. When protein folding goes wrong due to genetic mutations or environmental stress, it can lead to severe diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, or sickle cell anemia. By understanding this, scientists can design life-saving drugs. Before we move on to the mathematics of these structures, let us see this with a concrete visual example. Look at the diagram on your screen. On the far left, you see the primary structure, which is just the sequence of amino acids, like beads on a string. Moving to the right, the secondary structure shows how this string twists into an alpha helix or folds into a beta sheet. Next, the tertiary structure shows the overall three-dimensional shape of a single polypeptide chain. Finally, on the far right, the quaternary structure illustrates how multiple folded chains, or subunits, assemble together to form a complete functional protein complex. Now that we understand what these structures look like, let us look at how we can measure them. While protein folding is a highly complex thermodynamic process, we can use simple mathematical formulas to understand the physical dimensions of these structures. For instance, in a secondary structure like an alpha helix, we can calculate its physical length. The formula is L equals N times 1.5. Here, L represents the total length of the alpha helix, measured in angstroms. 1 angstrom is a tiny unit of distance equal to 1/10 billionth of a meter. The variable n represents the total number of amino acid residues present. The constant 1.5 represents the vertical rise in angstroms that each individual amino acid adds. If the number of amino acids increases, the helix becomes proportionally longer. Let us apply what we just learned to a real biological scenario. A specific receptor protein in a human cell has a single alpha helical segment that spans entirely across the cell membrane. This helical segment is composed of exactly 24 amino acid residues. We need to calculate its physical length. First, we identify our given value, which is n equals 24. Next, we use our helix length formula, L equals n times 1.5. By substituting 24 for n, we multiply 24 by 1.5. This gives us a final value of 36. This means the alpha helix is exactly 36 angstroms long. This makes perfect biological sense, as the hydrophobic core of a typical cell membrane is about 30 to 40 angstroms thick, making this helix the perfect size. This formula we just saw leads us to another important calculation regarding the stability of the helix. An alpha helix is held together by hydrogen bonds. We can calculate the exact number of these bonds using the formula H equals n minus 4. Here, the symbol H represents the total number of hydrogen bonds that are stabilizing the alpha helix. The variable n is once again the total number of amino acid residues in the sequence. We subtract the number 4 because the first 4 amino acids in the sequence do not have a preceding partner to form a hydrogen bond with. Hydrogen bonding in an alpha helix always occurs between a residue and another residue located 4 spaces ahead of it. As the number of residues increases, the number of bonds increases, making the structure much more stable. Before we move on to larger structures, let us see this bonding formula in action with our previous example. We are looking at the same transmembrane alpha helix, which we know has 24 amino acid residues. We want to determine the total number of hydrogen bonds stabilizing it. We start with our formula, H equals n minus 4. By substituting the value 24 into our equation, we simply subtract 4. This gives us a result of 20. This tells us that there are exactly 20 individual hydrogen bonds holding this helical structure tightly together. Without these 20 bonds, the helix would unravel while embedded in the harsh environment of the cell membrane. Now that we have analyzed a single helix, let us look at a slightly more complex level of organization involving quaternary structure. Quaternary structure occurs when multiple individual polypeptide chains, which we call subunits, come together to form a single functional complex. Hemoglobin is a vital quaternary protein in your blood made of 4 individual subunits. Each of these 4 subunits contains approximately 141 amino acid residues. When you combine these 4 chains, you get a massive chain of building blocks that must all fold perfectly together to carry oxygen throughout your body. Understanding the sheer size of these molecules helps us appreciate their complexity. To truly grasp the size of these quaternary structures, we can estimate their molecular weight. The formula we use is Mw equals N total times 110. Let us break down these symbols. Mw stands for the total molecular weight of the entire functional protein complex, measured in a unit called Daltons. N total represents the grand total number of amino acid residues present across all the subunits combined. Finally, the constant 110 represents the average molecular weight of a single amino acid residue in a protein, which is about 110 Daltons. If a protein has more subunits or longer chains, N total increases, and the overall molecular weight scales up directly. Let us put this formula to work by calculating the approximate total molecular weight of the entire functional hemoglobin molecule. We are given that hemoglobin has 4 subunits, and each contains 141 residues. Our strategy involves 2 straightforward multiplication steps. First, we find the total number of amino acid residues by multiplying 4 subunits by 141. This reveals that the entire molecule contains a grand total of 564 residues. For our final step, we multiply this total, 564, by the average weight of one residue, which is 110 Daltons. The mathematical result is 62,040 Daltons. This is a very accurate estimation of hemoglobin's actual molecular weight in the human body. We have covered a lot of ground today, so let us summarize the most important ideas. First, remember that proteins are not just random strings of chemicals floating in your cells. They are highly organized, multi-level structures. They begin as a simple sequence at the primary level, twist into helices at the secondary level, fold into 3D machines at the tertiary level, and combine into master complexes at the quaternary level. Second, never forget the golden rule. Structure determines function. Finally, we saw how simple mathematical formulas can help us visualize and measure these microscopic machines. By mastering these 4 levels, you now hold the key to understanding how life operates at the most fundamental molecular level. Great job today!